Producer Trevor Macy, we had heard of each other for many years, and had a mutual friend in director Mike Flanagan, and so I got my manager got a call from him one day that director Stacy Title and writer John Penner would love to have me involved in the Bye Bye Man. So basically, it was they were out of town, and I went to Trevor's office so we could Skype with Stacy and John Penner. So I met them like this, you know. I kind of met them doing that. Hi, oh, you guys look great. You having fun back with the family? Good, yeah. So we had a talk though, but you know, like any film, it all starts with a script, I think. And when I read the script for this, you know, I get offered a lot of horror films, and I don't want to boast about that, but a lot of them are formulaic and you know, oh, we're a bunch of naked teenagers having sex in the woods, and here comes Doug Jones to kill all of us one at a time. I get offered that a lot. This one had so much psychological layers to it, so many layers to it that it interested me. It kept my mind active while reading it, and hopefully it will keep the audience's mind active while watching it, with just the psychological torment that these kids are going through. And their relationships and how they just disintegrate in front of you on film. With this and with the backstory of the Bye Bye Man, that just really interested me to his backstory and wanting to, you know, this movie touches on his backstory, which sounds tragic and sympathetic. And if I'm going to play the bad guy in a movie, I really appreciate playing one that has a sympathetic origin or that I can feel something for, because if I can connect with him, then I can play him well, you know. And even though he's doing dastardly horrible things, like I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to be evil today. I think even evil characters are just trying to find a way to survive like anybody else. They're making bad choices along the way, yes. The Bye Bye Man makes some terrible choices, but I think he's trying to make up for, you know, some horrible history in his own life, and yeah, yeah, and I think anybody can relate to, you know, bad things happening to good people, and how do we come out of that, and so a movie like this can actually be empowering, and not only entertaining and terrifying, but it can be empowering too. I play the Bye Bye Man, and he is, as exposed later in the story, he was different than other kids. He was made fun of. It's a very classic bullying scenario, and but tragic because you know, he was tortured, and so kind of his spirit lives on, and we're following some college kids today, and as the character played by Douglas Smith finds etched in the bottom of a nightstand drawer, "Don't say it, don't think it, don't say it, don't think it, the Bye Bye Man." He said it out loud, so oops, he let the cat out of the bag. So the cat would be me as the Bye Bye Man showing up. So basically, if you say the Bye Bye Man's name, he shows up. But unlike other horror films where he shows up and does this, yank, 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 he shows up and does this. Aha, right. There's a difference. He gets into your head, he gets into your psyche, and so that this poor college kid starts seeing things that aren't there, and not trusting his own eyes, not trusting his own instincts, and then his girlfriend, played by Cressida, Bonas, and their friend, all these roommates, also played by Lucien Laviscount. The three of them really are the crux of the story, and the relationship between the three of them, and how it gets polluted by the Bye Bye Man's influence. Director Stacy Title is a gift to actors. She so understands our process. And of course, she, being married to the lovely John Penner, who also is a writer, actor himself, and they're a very collaborative team together. And I just, Stacy, though, she will come to you, and when she's face to face with you, you feel something. All she can give me 2 words on set, and I'll know her intention and what the emotion that she's trying to convey to me to get out. The fact that we were brought in to this lovely Cleveland location a week early is a luxury on film shoots. They wanted that week ahead of time so we could rehearse, so we could get into our environment and get into our characters, not only with makeup tests and fittings and things like that too, but to start living and breathing these characters, not just knowing them, but living and breathing them. And Stacy is a director who inspires living and breathing, not just acting.
It was terrifying. I remember when I was auditioning for it, I was in LA. I was staying at a friend's house. They were out of town, so it was a rather large house, and I was staying in it alone. And I started reading the script, and I started getting a little, like, scared. So I did the thing where I sort of barricaded myself in the guest room of the house, and I just didn't leave until the sun came up. I play Elliot. And Elliot is a 20-year-old college student who is really, really in love with his girlfriend and is really excited because they're gonna move in together. And I think he would actually want to move in with just his girlfriend, but he can't afford it. And so he enlists his best friend, John, to rent another room in the house. And so they move into this awesome, cool, slightly creepy, large house off campus. She's a real actor-friendly director. There's no question that's a dumb question, you know? She just wants you to be involved. She loves to be, challenged on things too, which some directors aren't confident enough to allow other people to give you their input. And from day one, she told me, yeah, I want you to challenge me on stuff if you think something is wrong in the way I'm saying it, because that's how we make it better, And some directors say that, but then when you get on a film set, they don't actually want you to bring things up. But, I mean, we only have 2 weeks left of filming, and at any moment, I don't know, I think, oh, this is a little suspect, or wouldn't it be better if it was this way? And she always takes the moment to look at it, and we don't always go with it. Sometimes, actually, I'm not seeing the full picture, but then there's been plenty of times where we've changed things for the better, I think, and I think she thinks that as well. And so she's a real collaborator. I mean, she's definitely the captain of the vessel, but she really likes everybody contributing to the final product, and I think that's really, really cool. It makes everybody involved.
Stacy's an actor's director, and she had a wonderful rapport with all of them. She brings a lot of energy and a lot of collaboration to the process, and it's essential to how she makes the movie. That collaboration extends not only to actors, but certainly me. We had a wonderful creative collaboration, and I hope to have many more with her. And also, she's a person who believes, as I do, that good ideas come from anywhere. So whether it was the script supervisor or even a PA, you would, if it was a good idea, we took it, and it fostered a real team environment, and I think yielded creative results that I'm very proud of. Penner I've known for a long time, just as Stacy, and he brought a lot of great stuff to the script. The man literally wrote a book on classic horror movies, so his knowledge of the genre is both deep and wide. The role of Elliot requires a bit of balance between you gotta love him, but he's got to be manic, and as he descends into madness from the effects of the Bye Bye Man, you've still got to stay with him. In a sense, it's his movie. And Douglas has that cocktail of relatability and acting skill that really makes you stay with him the whole movie. Cressida Bonas was a gift. Not only does the camera love her, but everybody on the crew did too. And she brought her A game Cressida's one of those actors who, you'll call cut and you'll think to yourself, wow, that was great. And then you'll get in the edit room and you realize that she's actually doing more than you thought she was in the first place. And so her performance, not aside from the camera loving her, her performance has a lot of depth to it, and you really can't take your eyes off her when she's on screen, and that's not just a distinction about beauty. The role of John is also not easy to cast. Just as Sasha and Elliot, John has to go through a pretty remarkable transition in the course of the movie, and you have to stay with him. And it would be easy to think of John as, a dumb jock, but Lucien brought so much more to the party than that. There's an amazing cognitive dissonance with Doug Jones in that he plays some of the most iconic evil characters you've ever seen, but he's the nicest human being on the planet. I think Doug Jones has more acting ability in his little finger than many actors do in their entire body, and the physicality of his work was perfect for a character that doesn't speak because he's so amazingly expressive and memorable and scary.
This is a horror film. This has got demons and supernatural, and it's terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying, and it's got curses and the lore and the thing with the coins and the writing and the psychological aspect all thrown into the mix. And man, that was really cool to me. I mean, I read it, and I knew when I read the script that this is a movie that my wife will not want to see. I was like, this is a good one. This is going to be scary, and there's a place for scary movies, and they work well every year, and I always wanted to be associated with a really good one, and I think this is going to be a really good one. I play a character called Virgil Wright. I am Elliot's older brother, Elliot being the central character in the show. And I'm sort of the paternal figure in this film. In the lore of our movie, Elliot and I lost our parents when he was still quite young. So my wife and I took on Elliot and became his de facto parents and sort of raised him. So my character represents this, the duality of being a peer, being a brother to Elliot, but also there's an age gap there, and there's a paternal aspect to Virgil with Elliot. So I'm very protective. I had never met Stacy before. This past year in August when I met her, at the meeting and the audition. I made an observation about Stacy when I came in to work a couple days on this film earlier in the month, and then they flew me back to LA, and I came back here to Cleveland. And in that 2 weeks that I was gone, I come back and I saw Stacy, and she hadn't changed at all, meaning physically, emotionally. She still has that perma-smile, that grin, that energy. And usually, when you get down deep into 2, 3, 4 weeks into a film and you can kind of see it wearing on people and they look a little exhausted and their heads hanging a little bit lower, Stacy has boundless energy, and it really translates well through our crew, through the whole thing.
I really love the story. I think the characters were really likable when I read it. So I went through a couple of auditions, and I was really excited when I got the part. And I think it's it's a horror film, and it's scary. I hope it will be scary. And yeah, I just really like the story, and how it's kind of revolved around these three friends. And, it's their first time living together, in a house away from home. I really liked her strength and her vulnerability, and the fact that she comes into the house and she feels something straight away, and I think all along knows that there's something wrong. But she's with these two guys who are saying, no, it's fine and exciting. And I think she's excited as well to be living with them and living with her boyfriend, Elliot, and but she knows, you know, she has that, she feels something. And I think that's why it's so tragic really at the end and horrible, because there's something in her that always knew that there was something wrong.
I'm not a massive horror fan at all. Like horror movies on my radar, and just because I'm pretty much of a scaredy cat. So when I got the script originally, I was kind of blown away by the characters, how there's no real baddies or arseholes in there, you know? You really root for each character. So I was taken by the script, and then I got the pleasure of going for dinner with Jonathan Penner and Stacy Title, our director, and that just pushed me over the edge. I just really wanted to be involved with them too, and I worked with them on this project that they've been working on for so long, and they have so much drive and passion for it. It was a no-brainer. So that kind of how it all came around for me. Working with Stacey, it's been so much fun. She's kind of like a mother figure to me. You know what I mean? She's a mum herself, and she's a great mum. I've seen her interact with her kids. So she's kind of taken that motherly role on, and she's just brilliant. She comes over, she gives you what you need. She gives you enough time to really find what you need to find. And we're shooting a horror movies. It's something I've never done before, and especially something like this. It's like a huge jigsaw. Any movie is like a jigsaw puzzle, but this, with the hallucinations and things like that, it throws another spiral in there. So to jump from one thing to the next mentally, it's quite difficult, but Stacey's phenomenal. Stacey, she knows what she wants from each scene. And when you're working with a director who knows what they want, it just makes your life a lot easier. There's no guessing games. It's, Lucien, this is what we need, this is what we want. And she'll go again and again and again and again until you feel like you've got there, as well as herself. She's not selfish in that aspect at all. So I play John. Johnny Boy is, he's a bit of a rascal. He's a bit of a ladies' man, a bit of a womanizer, and he's the fun one. He's grounded, he's a bit of a jock, and he comes into the storyline basically being Elliot's best friend. Elliot and him have been friends since day one, and tier one, should I say. That's our little clique, that's our little crew. And yeah, so he's got this new girlfriend. We want to move off campus, and we find this house. The house, in my eyes, is a little bit spooky, but these guys think it's the best thing since sliced bread. So they move into this house and awaken this supernatural force which takes them on this journey. Each individual character goes on their own, like, how can I put it? Destructive path, basically. And it's, yeah, do we come out at the end of it?
The Bye Bye Man is a terrifying story that falls along the lines of a Greek tragedy. And I would call it a Greek tragedy because the characters don't realize that they're doomed. And they fight the good fight and even do make great progress in fighting the Bye Bye Man, but in the end, he's far too powerful for them to overcome. So it's a story of growth and fear and redemption and anxiety and hallucination. And on the way, they find out who they are. He brings out their worst qualities. What he does is he makes you your most lowest self. Trevor Macy and I are friends, and we've been friends for a very long time, and colleagues, probably 15 years. And we've been looking for a movie to do together. He, I mean, you probably won't use this stuff, but I have to say, women don't get a chance to direct. People don't like, they think of a president, it's not a woman. Look what's happening to Hillary. They think of an astronaut, it's a man. They think of a president, it's a man. They think of a director, it's a man. And it's really, 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 really hard to get in the position to get hired. And he gave me that opportunity, and we talked about a bunch of projects. And then Bye Bye Man the rights to Bobby came back to him. He had them, they went away, they came back. And when they came back to him, he showed them to me, and I just thought there was an extraordinary potential for the story. And I developed the project with my husband, Jonathan Penner, and with Trevor, and we really worked on it for about 3 years. We worked on it, we rewrote it, we revised it, and in the end, that's how the property came together. We shopped it, and we're very lucky to find Jeffrey Soros and Simon Horstman at LAMF. If you catch something like that, if you catch a disease and it makes you crazy, that's really scary. It's really scary to lose your mind. And that's why this is a very modern horror movie. It's not a person running around with a knife. It's not a person who's going to jump out at you. It's not a haunted house story. It's a story of losing your mind because you have a virus that gives you that. And that's what makes it something that's very unusual and terrifying. He's a wonderful sounding board. And for me, you know, directing is collaborative. I like to hear lots of ideas from people, but in the end, it's up to me to choose. And I have my vision, and my vision is clear, and I plan, and I work very hard before I get there so that it's almost a little boring when I'm on set. I have a very detailed shot list, a very, very detailed sense of transitions between scenes. We rehearse, I know what I want from the actors, but there's always something that you miss. And there's always something that could maybe elevate your game, and that's where he gives me support. Trevor does that too. There's a sense of partnership that I'm open to that maybe not everyone else is, because I know my game is going to be better, and I feel that I have a team camaraderie. And while my vision is the most important and that is the one that we have to follow, I can't ignore great ideas, because great ideas come from many places, and I love working that way. Working with Douglas Smith was a great pleasure because he has an extraordinary instrument. He is a seasoned, brilliant, brilliant young man. I cannot say enough. I think he has a great career ahead of him. He has absolutely beautiful instincts. He is both funny and dramatically interesting. He makes great choices. He's vulnerable. He's open. He allows himself to be felt, and he has extraordinary technique. I can't say enough. It was a movie that he carried on his back, and he did it with great grace and talent. Cressida Bonas is an extraordinary girl. When her first audition came in, I was really blown away. She was so available and beautiful, and her work was so straightforward and simple and crisp. Of course, she has this extraordinary life in England, you know, this history with the Prince of England and all this stuff. And I remember I said to her, you know, I don't know anyone who could have a choice between being a princess and a movie star, but I think it's a good choice that you're going to be a movie star. And I believe that to be true. You know, I worked with Cameron Diaz early in my career, and I would say that Cressida is the first person that I've come across that reminds me of Cameron. She has this absolute availability. When you look at her and you look into her eyes, you see into her. She's so right there and available on the screen that I think people are going to love her. She's a wonderful, warm person, very self-deprecating and adorable, besides being gorgeous. Lucien Laviscount is a great pleasure to know. He's English and hilarious and brilliant and gorgeous and bright and energetic, and he makes people happy. You know, you can't be around Lucien and not love him. And he really, really means it when he listens to you, and he hears everything you say, and he remembers everything you say. And he's a beautiful actor because he finds the humor in everything. He drags himself to the bottom of his own soul to fill out moments. He challenges himself and succeeds. He's quite a brilliant, brilliant kid. He really is. She was an absolute delight. I was a little nervous, I have to admit. You know, she has such a reputation. She's so brilliant. And it was so incredible to work with her. She's this warm, you know, yogi. She's really like a yogi, you know, she's not an instructor, but she has a kind of a side that's very, 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 very powerful about the world being, you know, living together in harmony. And, you know, and then she has this badass persona, which is like this. So if you get to know her, there's a whole other soft level beneath her strength. And when we worked, you know, the part she was playing was a you know, a detective, you know, Detective Shaw, and she really, really, really brought it to a level of emotion that I wasn't expecting. Carrie-Anne Moss was really, really quite brilliant and filled out moments that I would never have expected anyone to be able to do. And she brought a strength and a genius to this part that is powerful in the movie, powerful. Doug Jones could possibly be the most brilliant, nice person I've ever met. He's so lovely. He's so warm. That he has this ability to channel evil is fascinating. It is almost like God and the devil are in one person. I don't know how to describe it better, because he could not be more kind and lovely and brilliant. He doesn't speak in the movie. He does it all with his face. And what he's bringing, the humanity of the Bye-Bye Man, the darkness of the Bye-Bye Man, it would never have been as good with anyone else who played this part. This is a part that only Doug Jones could have played, and I'm very lucky that he did. Faye Dunaway is a legend, and there's a reason. She's a movie star for a reason. She's quite brilliant, and she's complicated and fantastic. Faye Dunaway is a linchpin in the plot because she's someone who's been around and known about the Bye-Bye Man for years, but she's never known his name, so she hasn't been infected by him. So working with her on the script was, you know, it was very intense. She was very, very heavy duty on each line, each piece. She wanted to really, really, really pour through it. And when she got to set, she really, really knew her stuff, and she really, really had a handle on it. And she was very clear and precise. She really cared where the camera was, where the lights were. She's an old school movie star in that way, that she knows that if the light is here or here, it better be exactly there. She has a presence that's profound, and she did an incredible job. And I think people are going to be delighted to see her pop into the movie. The Bye-Bye Man is a slow, dark, intense trajectory and build toward an extraordinary climax. The Bye-Bye Man is in your mind, and it's like a virus, a disease that you can't cure. If I say to you, the Bye-Bye Man, it stays in your head. It gets more and more powerful. He's telepathic. He gets closer and closer. As he gets in your head, he makes you hallucinate and do terrible things, and you're ill-prepared to deal with him.
When I read the script, I had to stop a few times because it's really scary. And I was actually on a plane, and I wasn't even sure I was going to finish it because I was really getting, I was having a hard time with it. It's really scary. But then I would keep going back to it. It was a long plane ride. And at the end of it, I was even almost afraid to talk about it with my manager, and, you know, because I process scripts through my team, obviously, but it got into my mind, you know. Then I talked to Stacy, who's directing it, which, you know, it's a big deal that she is getting to direct this for, you know, lots of reasons, because she loves it, and her husband wrote it. It's very well written. It always comes down to the writing for me in the beginning, and then all the other pieces have to come together. But, you know, the fact that she is getting this opportunity to direct this script that her husband wrote, and that she's a woman, is a big deal. And so I wanted to support that. And I've worked with Doug before. He's a wonderful actor. And it's, you know, I have this small cameo in the movie, but it's kind of what I love to do, which is she's a very kind of grounding energy in the movie. And I tend to enjoy playing that kind of archetype, I guess. And I like to play it in all different genres and all different evolutions of that idea, that archetype. So I decided to do it. I play a detective, and I am, trying to figure out what's going on. It's hard to tell without giving the whole plot away, but there's something going on that I'm trying to understand, and it's from the detective mindset. It doesn't make any sense what's going on, and because it doesn't make any sense. But my character is, she's empathetic to the main character that Doug is playing. His name is Elliot. He looks like he's done this sort of, this really horrific crime, basically, and yet she doesn't feel that he's capable, like she feels something is not right. So she's a very intuitive police, detective. Although, it was originally written for a guy, the part that I'm playing, which is my new thing. I play characters that are supposed to be men, which is fun. It's like, seems like the thing to do, which I think is great. I think, men should play the parts that are written for women. I think it would be great if we just opened all that up. We'd have so much fun. In characters, we'd see new characters, which is great. So she's like this strong, really capable detective, but she does have this intuitive nature, which I'm sure a lot of detectives do. They'd have to. And she has a lot of compassion for this kid. I think that the scary parts of it come from this idea of something being implanted in the mind, the aspects of what the movie is saying, and getting something in your psyche and not being able to get it out, and how much of it is your will and how much of it is the insanity of the mind once it's embraced something dark. And I like that idea because I think so many, and not that the movie explores this so deeply, but stuff happens to people and people overcome it, and some people can't overcome it, and he is really trying to overcome this and trying to, but the control it has over his mind is so big that it's really hard for him. And hard for everybody. I mean, it may be impossible, we don't know.